Hello, I'm Leigh Greenwood and I'm the minister at Stoneygate Baptist Church here in Leicester. When I saw the list of themes for this series, giving up expectations was the one that jumped straight out at me. I think because I've done my fair share of that in my time. When I was 7, I had a different career planned for every day of the week. I can't remember which day this was, but on one day a week I was going to be a vet. Until I passed out watching St Tiggy Winkle's Hospital and realised that veterinary care was probably not for me. An early lesson in things not working out quite as you imagined they would. By the time I was 11, I'd settled on becoming an English teacher. And so when I finished school, I went to university to study English. And then 6 weeks into my second year, I found myself facing a second Great Depression. And I left my studies in order to protect my mental health. In that moment, I gave up every expectation of what my life would look like. A few years later, I found myself following a call to ministry. And as someone who was fairly newly married and starting to think about children, one of the big questions I had was around what family life would look like. I'd always thought I'd stay at home when my children were small, as my mum had. But I couldn't see how that would work in the early years of training and ministry. I remember talking to my mum about this, and she said, I don't think God would ask you to give up having children, but God might ask you to give up what you think having children will look like. And so I trusted that if ministry and motherhood were both right, then they would both be right together. And as it turns out, they were right together. As I found out I was expecting my first child during my first week of training for ministry. I really hadn't foreseen that one. My life now looks very different to how I expected it would look when I was an over-ambitious 7-year-old. Which is probably just as well, because 7 jobs sounds exhausting. Really, though, I have given up every expectation bar one. And that is the expectation that God will continue to surprise me. Like Abraham and Sarah, leaving home and family and setting out with very little in the way of direction, I have learnt to set out on paths yet to be made known. And like Nicodemus asking how an old man can be born again, I have learnt that Jesus will confound all of my ideas and expand all of my horizons. I won't say that has always been easy, but it has been so very rich in blessing. I don't know what expectations you have right now, but may you hold them lightly so that you may be able to give them up if the time comes. But may you always expect to be surprised by God.